Howdy and welcome back to another edition of the Friday Five. Today is June 6th, 2025, and it is the 19th birthday of my oldest son, Taylor. Yes, he was born on 6/6/06, but don't worry, he's a good kid. So happy birthday, T. All right, jumping into number one, starting where we always start, mortgage rates. Again, these are national averages from Mortgage News Daily. VA 30-year fixed, 6.50%. FHA 30-year fixed, 6.47%. Conventional 30-year fixed, 6.97%. Conventional 15-year fixed, Dave Ramsey special, 6.22%. And then that conventional 7-year ARM, 6.40%. So we did get a little bit better at parts in this week. I guess we lost a little ground early in the week, got a little bit better in the middle of the week, and then lost a little ground today. So still below that Mendoza line of 7% on the conventional 30-year fixed, government loans in the mid-sixes, but we would still love to see some improvement. Number two, what is an appraisal waiver? So I'm going to go on the assumption at this point that you know what an appraisal is, essentially evaluation of the home done by an independent third party. On some transactions, we may get an appraisal waiver, which means that traditional home appraisal is not required as part of the mortgage process. So in simple terms, here's what this means. Normally, a lender hires an appraiser to assess the market value of a property, and it helps the lender to confirm that the home is worth what the buyer's paying. And also, oftentimes, the appraiser takes a look at the condition of the house when they're walking through. But with an appraisal waiver, the lender uses automated data and modeling through the automated underwriting system. And basically it says, hey, you don't need an appraisal. So key points of this, it can help with faster closings. Obviously, it saves the buyer the cost of the appraisal fee, which is usually about $500. Downsides, though, it's only available typically on conventional loans. Basically, when we run the loan through the computerized underwriting system, it tells us whether that property, based on the address and whatever information it's pulling behind the scenes, tax records, public records, and the purchase price, if it's eligible for an appraisal waiver. So kind of cool when we get one. Lots of buyers are opting to utilize it if they do get an appraisal waiver because it avoids a part of the process and saves some costs, but we don't get them on all loans. Number three, what inspections are required on an FHA loan? So an FHA loan, in my opinion, is a great loan product, kind of gets a bad rap, and I think people have the assumption that there's a whole bunch of additional inspections that you have to get if you're using FHA financing, and that's kind of not true, so I want to go through them with you. First, home inspection, not required. Termite or wood-destroying insect inspection, also not required. The only way it would be required is if the appraiser, when they walk through the house, notes on the appraisal report that there's evidence or possible evidence of wood-destroying insects. Septic inspection, generally also not required. It would only be needed if the appraiser mentions that there's a potential issue that they see when they do the walkthrough, or if it's required by the locality where the home is located. Next, a water test. Also not automatically required. The only way that a water test would be needed on an FHA loan is if the appraiser notes adverse conditions. If they turn the water on and it comes out brown, you're probably going to need it. But otherwise, if everything looks good when the appraiser walks through, not required. Lastly, the appraiser does a health and safety check when he or she walks through the home. This is the part that kind of gives FHA loans a bad rap. Sometimes the appraiser will notice that a handrail is missing, or if the house was built prior to 78, if there's peeling, chipping paint, sometimes that has to be scraped and repainted. But generally speaking, if a house is in good condition, especially if it was built after 1978, there's rarely much in the way of repairs that are required, and FHA in many cases is very similar to a conventional loan when it comes to property condition. Number four, let's talk about Zillow a little bit. So Zillow's is absolutely the most widely used property search engine online, but I want to talk a little bit about what Zillow is actually behind the scenes. So let's not get confused. First, Zillow is not a data provider. They're a data aggregator, but is completely for the goal of generating leads and then selling those leads or making money through those leads in probably three different channels. First, historically, they've sold those leads to real estate agents and lenders based on zip code, and that's one way that they have generated income off of the leads. Second, more recently, they have set up agreements with real estate agents or real estate teams where Zillow receives a success fee if a lead that they pass to an agent ends up closing on a home. So according to Housing Wire story that I read, the success fee is about 40% of the real estate commission. Lastly, Zillow has its own mortgage company called Zillow Home Loans, and they obviously use their lead gen platform to try to source business for their mortgage channel. So I don't want you to get confused. Zillow is a information aggregator for real estate and an information provider through their search engine, but it's really a lead gen platform. So if you're looking for real estate information, there are other channels you can go through. If you don't want to be a part of that lead generation funnel, you can visit homes.com, which I guess technically, even some of these platforms do have lead gen aspects to them. Realtor.com is another one. Or obviously just reach out to a local real estate agent in your market that you know and trust that was referred to you, and they can get you the same info. Number 5, lastly, the quote of the week. This comes from Sahil Bloom. Do hard things because nothing feels better than a hard-earned win. So this definitely speaks to me after this past weekend where I trained for lots and lots of months for the 50K, and I was able to get out there and log 32 and a half miles and cross the finish line after a long day and 7 hours and change of just working towards that goal. And I think the inverse is true too. If you don't do things the right way and you take shortcuts in athletics, in business, in your personal life, and you achieve a goal, but you took a shortcut or you cheated to get there, it doesn't have the same kind of feeling, the same kind of positive emotion as if you just did it the right way and the hard way, and it was that hard-earned win. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. If I can help you in any way, please reach out.